What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And yeah, I know it's been a long while since I posted my last video. That's probably like 6 to 7 months ago. Yeah, it's just that I've been a bit busy with school and work and some other stuffs. But yeah, I'm back, and this time coming in with more videos. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to have at least 1 or 2 videos every single week. Yes, you guys should be expecting a video every single week. So yeah, I mean, this time we are coming in hot. We're going to be more consistent. Yeah, basically that's the goal. So if that sounds good, do well to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Yeah, so make sure you hit the like button. I mean, I'm waiting for you to hit the like button though. Yeah. So when you're done, then we continue. Have you done it? All right. So if the button is still saying subscribe, then it means you haven't subscribed. So I mean, just hit the subscribe button as well, and just let's keep the numbers high. Let's keep the channel growing, and let's grow together basically. All right. So in today's video, we are going to be basically building a mobile application with React Native, and we're going to be using Expo to do this. So we're going to see the benefits of using Expo and using building applications with React Native. So React Native is actually a library for building mobile applications. It helps us to build our applications cross-platform. So when I say cross-platforms, it means the application works on both Android and then iOS. So you have to write your code once. You only have to write your code once, and then it works on both Android and then iOS. That sounds cool, right? Yeah, I mean, if you're a developer, this reduces your tax. You don't have to program a whole application for Android alone, and then have to do the same application in another language for iOS, basically. So React Native makes things a lot easy for us, and with Expo, it actually makes it a lot easy, because Expo makes it very easy and beginner friendly for you. So if you're a beginner in mobile app development or specifically React Native, I mean, this is the perfect video for you to get started building applications with React Native, specifically with Expo, because Expo makes things a lot easy for us to build our applications with React Native. So if you're a beginner, you have no idea what React Native is, or this is your first time building anything related to mobile applications or React Native, then you're in the perfect place, and you're going to want to watch this video to the end. So stick around and make sure you follow along, and let's build this application. So yeah, as you can see on the screen on the right side, we have this iOS device, so this iPhone 14 Pro Max here. So that's basically the application that we're going to be building. It's just a login screen, right? It's just a login screen that basically takes an input, an input of a username. So the user can just type their username in here, and then you come and type your password in here as well, basically. But nothing, it's not really making any function, basically. We are just focusing on the basics of React Native with Expo. Okay, so we are going to be building this UI here, this interface here, on a mobile app, basically. So we're going to see how we are going to be able to build a mobile application that looks like this. So that's the goal today. So let's quickly get started. So this is on my browser here as well. I'm on the React Native website, which has a really straightforward documentation. I mean, you guys should also visit the documentations to go through what they have there. I mean, it's very straightforward. When you read it, you're going to understand stuff better. So yeah, we have the Expo Go quick start, which is what we are going to be doing today. We can build React Natives with Expo or using the React Native CLI. Now the CLI is a bit complicated because it takes a lot of configuration before you can even start building your app. But we are not going to do the CLI today. We're going to do the Expo because it's a lot more straightforward and it's more beginner friendly. So we're going to use the Expo to build this application. So let's quickly go ahead and then build the application. So I'm going to open my directories here. Let me go to my personal and then open it in a terminal. Right, so I'm going to open it in a terminal. I'm going to open the directory in the terminal, and then we are going to run this command we have here, npx create expo app awesome project. So this is a command which is going to help us bootstrap our application with Expo. Okay, so we are going to get all the needed models and dependencies we need to start building our application. So this npx create expo app, before it will work, you need to have Node installed. You need to install Node.js on your system and then have npm also installed. So make sure you have these two things installed before you are going to run this command, else it will not work. So make sure you have Node.js installed before you start building an application. So nps create expo app awesome project. So this awesome project is basically the name of your project. You can name it whatever you want. Okay, so let's copy this command here. We don't need the awesome project part because we are going to name it what we want. Okay, so let me paste it here. npx create expo app, and then let me say login screen. So I mean, you can name it whatever you want, it doesn't really matter. So this command is going to go ahead and install all the necessary dependencies we need to have our app running and get things started and start building our React Native application. Okay, so we are done installing all the models, the necessary models we need for this project to start. So now if the installation is completed, the next command we have to run is this one here, cd login screen. So we're going to run that command. Let me paste it in here, cd. So this is basically change directory to this folder login screen, basically. So we are moving into the login screen. So right now we are inside the login screen, and what we're going to do next is do code dot, and this is going to open this particular directory in VS Code for us. So the text editor we're going to be using today is VS Code. I mean, there are other text editors out there that you can use, but what I prefer to use most often is VS Code because it has a lot of functionalities and features and extensions that can assist you in building your applications. So I'm going to do code dot to open this directory in VS Code for me. Yes, so as you can see, it is opened. Yes, I trust the author because I'm the author. All right, so as you can see, we have the app opened. We have our installation opened, login screen as we created. All the necessary dependencies that we need are readily available for us to start building our application. Okay, so when you open the package.json, we have these things here. But what we are interested in is the scripts, right? So one of the scripts we have here is start. So it means when we run the command npm start, it's going to run this command expo start for us, basically. So it's going to just start the application for us. Okay, so that's what we're going to do right now. So open your terminal on VS Code. So to open your terminal, you can just do the command J. So command plus J. If you're on Windows, control plus J. It's going to open the terminal for you. If that doesn't work for whatever reason, you can use command plus tilde. So tilde is let me just put tilde here. This is tilde. This sign over here is tilde. So command plus tilde should open the terminal for you. Okay, so let's run the command npm start. Now you could use, if you're on Mac, you can use yarn start or npm start, but I'm using npm start because I mean it's just straightforward. So I'm going to do npm start, and most people are more familiar with the npm start. So I'm going to do npm start to start the application for us. All right, so it's done running. So if you want to on Expo, right, like I said, Expo makes things a lot easier. Suppose we are using React Native CLI, we are going to have to set up Xcode and do a lot of configurations. But then with Expo, you get to build the application straightforward. Like everything is straightforward, right? So after you run npm start, what you can do is either use a simulator or use an actual device, right? So if you have, be it an Android device or an iOS device, but you need to make sure that you've installed Expo Go. So Expo Go is a mobile application that you need to install on your actual device. So if you're using a physical device, make sure you go to either the Play Store or the App Store and then install Expo Go, right? So install Expo Go, make sure you have it installed, and then when you're done installing them, you scan this QR code here. When you scan this QR code, it's now going to open this your application on Expo Go on your mobile device for you, so that you see all the changes you make on your actual mobile device. So yeah, if you are going to use a physical device, just install the Expo Go app on your phone and then scan this QR code and everything will be fine. But I'm not going to use a physical device, I'm going to use a simulator. Right, I'm going to use an iOS simulator. So to use a simulator, as you can see here that press A to open Android. And when I press A, it's going to open an Android simulator for me, but I'm not going to use the Android, I'm going to use the iOS simulator. So I'm going to press I to open the iOS simulator. So when I hit I, as you can see, opening on iOS, so it's going to open a new simulator for me to run my application. to open in just a second. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so as you can see, it's opening a new simulator for us to start running our application. So it should open our application for us on this simulator. Let me move it here. Okay, I think. Let's reload the app. Okay, so as you can see, it has opened a new simulator for us. And yeah, so this is basically the first thing you are going to see when you start a new Expo application. You are going to see something like this. Now, what you are seeing here is actually located in the app.js file. So let me move the simulator here. We'll be switching them as time goes on. So as you can see here on the app.js file, you can see open up app.js to start working on your app, and that's the same thing we are seeing here. So whatever we type in here, we should see it reflect on the simulator. So as I'm clearing things here, it should start clearing them on the simulator. Everything is gone, as you can see. So let's start saying hit the like button if you haven't, and subscribe. So we should see it appear. Very good. So as you can see, the things we typed has now appeared on the simulator, which means we have successfully bootstrapped our new Expo application and we have it running on a simulator. So if you are doing this on a mobile device, you should also see all these changes as well. Okay, so this is actually not the app we are going to be building. We are building these login screens. So that's what we are going to be doing today. So we are going to clear certain things on the file right now. But first, let me explain some few things here. So in React Native, I don't know if you have a basic understanding of HTML, it will be very helpful here. But you don't really need to know more a lot about HTML. Just a basic understanding of HTML and how it works, or HTML and then React. I mean, if you are good, you have a fair idea of React, you are going to be very good with React Native as well. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, we have these views and some components here. So the view, you can think of the view like a div, right? So if you use HTML, you know what a div is. A div is basically holds blocks of code for you. So it's like boxes, right? They serve as boxes where put items in them. That's the same thing we see here. So the view, you can think of the view to be a div, right? A div in the form of a box that holds things, right? Yeah, so that's what the view is doing here. And in React Native, you can't just put in text anywhere, right? You can't just write text and put them anywhere. Every text you write should be within this text component, as you can see here. This text component should hold all text, otherwise you're going to get an error. So every text needs to be in the text component. And we have the status bar here. What is the status bar? So you notice on the simulator, we have on the top and on the upper part, we have these the time and then the Wi-Fi sign and then the battery percentage and etc. So suppose the whole background of this app was black. Does it mean that it's going to blend in with the time and then the Wi-Fi and then the battery? No, that's what the status bar component here is going to do for us. So the status bar component here actually tells your app how to manage changes of this sort, right? So if the whole background is white, it means the time and then the status bar, the items on the status bar is now going to be black to be able to be for it to be visible. And if the whole background was black, then it's going to be white for it to be visible, basically. So that is what the status bar is here for. Okay. And then we have these styles here, right? So when we look at these styles, and to start a React Native app, you can use something called the style sheets component, right? we use a style sheet to create normal CSS style. So if you're familiar with CSS, that's the same thing that applies here in React Native. But today we are not going to be using the CSS. We are going to be using Tailwind CSS. We're not going to be using normal CSS. We're going to be using Tailwind CSS. Basically, that's what we're going to be using today. I'm going to see how we can configure Tailwind CSS on React Native. It's very simple actually. Just install a package and then you are good to go. So basically, if you were to be using the normal CSS in React Native, this is how it's done. You have this style, initialize this variable called styles here, and then we use the style sheet component, which is being imported from React Native. Right. So you notice that the text and then the view components are all being imported from React Native, and then the style sheet also from React Native, because all these components are coming from React Native. But then the status bar is coming from Expo status bar, right? Okay, great. So yeah, we have in the styles, we have this container key here with properties flex of one, background color, white, align item center, justify center. So I mean, it takes the normal CSS conventions. The CSS are the same things that are being used here, basically. So we are not going to be using this style sheet, like I said. We're going to be using something called we are going to be using Tailwind CSS to style our components. And the components we are going to install to be able to use Tailwind is this. So open your terminal, and then let me split the terminal. Let me close the sidebar. Let me split the terminal and say npm I. You can say yarn add and then the name of the components, but on Mac. But like, I mean, for simplicity's sake, I'm going to do npm I twrnc. So that's the components we're going to be installing. twrnc, Tailwind React Native components. So npm install twrnc, and this is going to go ahead and install the components for us, which is the Tailwind CSS component that we're going to need to be able to start our application with Tailwind CSS. Okay, so let me clear out this styles, because we're not going to be using these styles. And clear it, and then let me remove this, because since it no longer exists, we're going to get an error. And then let me remove this as well. So as you can see, because there is no style, the text has now been pushed to the button, because right now there is no style being applied to the application. So let me clear this text, and then we're going to have just the status bar there, because that's the only thing we need right now. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do now is, so you note that after I cleared all the style, the text entered the upper part of the mobile device. Now we don't want that. We don't want anything on our app to be on the upper part. It should only be within the area where it's visible to the user. All right, that's the goal. Okay, so to do that, we're going to use a component from React Native called safe area view. Now, all the areas here is a safe area view, right? All the areas here is a safe area view. Anything beyond this area is not safe, right? So we want to target our application, the items on our applications, to be within the safe area view. Now, for some cases, you might want it to span through the whole screen, but then for the most part, you want the items to be on the safe area view. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to use the safe area view. I'm going to use the safe area view component to contain all our apps, right? Now, let's see if the Tailwind CSS is done installing. Okay, so everything is successfully installed, so we can now start using it. So to use it, so I'm going to have to import it. So I'm going to import tw from twrnc, like so. When you import it like this is how I'm going to use it. So for every component, it takes a prop of style. Now this style prop is where we are going to be putting in our styles. So I'm going to say style, and then with the component you are using, we are going to say tw with backticks, like so. So within these backticks, that's where we are going to input our Tailwind CSS styles. So if you are new to Tailwind CSS too, you are in for a ride. I'm going to learn some few things about Tailwind CSS and get started with Tailwind CSS as well. I mean, it's pretty straightforward and very simple to use actually. So we have this tw here with this backticks here, and then we're going to start putting in items or putting in stuff into our, or putting some stylings into our application. So the first thing we're going to do is flex of one, right? We're going to say flex of one. Now what flex of one means is it should span the whole screen, right? Basically, flex one, take every available screen space on the screen. That's what flex one does. And then let's see if that works. So I'm going to say background black. If the whole screen becomes black, then it means it worked. Okay, so it means the view here has taken the whole screen, right? But then we are not going to use a dark background. We're going to use gray. BG means background, right? So I'm going to use BG gray of 100. So we are going to see a slight change in the screen right now. As you can see, we have not gotten um, the background to be gray. Now Tailwind has these shades of colors, right? So if I say BG gray 100, we get it lighter. Now if I say 700, it's going to be darker, as you can see. 900 is going to be more dark. Yeah. So but then we are going to use 100 because we need it to be light, as we have in the actual application you are trying to build here. So that's the background we have there. Yes. So let's now come within the safe area view. So within the safe area view here, we are going to also do a similar thing in here. Let's style it and say CW and then this backticks, and then we're going to say flex of 1. We want it to take out all the available space as well. And yeah, so as you can see here on the finished app, we have this thing in the background, this sort of cloud looking image in the background. We're going to add that as well. So I think you have to add that image in the assets folder. So any image at all you want to use in your application, you should make sure that it's within the add this assets folder. So let me open my finder and then drag this image into the assets like so. So this is the image we have in here. That's what we're going to be using in our application. Okay, so I've added the image in the assets folder. This is the image cloud.png. That's what we're going to be using. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is this. We're going to have this image component, right? This image component, we're going to import it from React Native. So we have to import it because the image is coming from React Native. Now it takes in some props, right? So the first prop we're going to add is the source. Now this source is basically where you want the image to come from, like where you want to get the image from. Okay, so in our case, our image is within the assets folder, so it means we need to require it from the assets folder. So I'm going to say require, and then we do this, and then we make the reference to the assets folder, and then the name of the image, which is what, cloud.png. So cloud.png to get that particular image. So as you can see, we have the image here like so. But then this is not how we want the image to be. We want the image to be looking like this. So that's what we are going to focus on next right now. So the next prop we are going to add to the image component is style, because we want to style the image, right? We want to style the image. We do the same thing, and then we start styling it. So before we even add a Tailwind style, one thing we want to do is basically, let me bring it back. Basically, we want to rotate this image, right? We want to rotate it upside down, because how it's looking is not how we want it. We want to rotate it upside down. But unfortunately, with this Tailwind component we are using, it doesn't have the utility for us to, just input that particular utility to make it simple for us to rotate the app. So we are going to do something different here. We're going to use both the normal CSS, inline CSS, and then we are going to use the Tailwind as well in the same components, so that you learn how, like, different ways we can do things, basically. So that's the whole point here, so that we are able to learn different ways we can do things. Now, to do this, you need to put them in an array, basically, because we are now having two sources of styles, right? So it's going to be in an array, like so. You put the array sign here, the what's the name, the box braces, square braces here, and then the first thing we're going to do is bring this curly braces, because it's going to be in an object form. Now, in every object we put it in curly braces, right? So the style we want to do here now is transform, because we want to transform it. And this transform, we are going to give it a property, which is also going to be in an array, and then back in the curly braces, because we are going to use an object here. So we are going to say rotate. We want to rotate it 180 degrees. So 180 degrees like so. So as you can see, it has rotated the image for us. That's pretty much what we want to do. And now we can add the Tailwind CSS styling. So we do within the same array, we add a Tailwind like so, and then we say absolute. We are going to give it an absolute position so that we position it how we want it to be. So for absolute positioning, right, since this image is within this safe area view, we want it to take the absolute positioning within this one. We don't want it to take it from the whole application. Okay, so we are going to add a relative positioning here so that we are able to make the absolute positioning based on this safe area view here, basically. So that's how absolute positioning work. So within the components in which we have the image, we want to make it relative to the parent component. Okay, so the parent component in this case is the safe area view, so it must be relative to the safe area view. So now the tailwind, we're going to say absolute, meaning the position should be absolute. I think we are having an error here. Okay, that's because I think I've cleared the closing curly braces. And then let's see what's going on here. Okay. Okay, so I think this is not supposed to be here. Yes, so that was my bad. I placed the tailwind style outside the array, so that's what caused it. So we are giving it an absolute positioning, and then we are going to say bottom 0, and let's see what happens. Okay, so this is not exactly how we want it to be. Let's see if what happens if we clear this transform here. Okay, so I think we can work with this. We can work with this. We've actually removed the rotation and then maintained it as it is. So let me clear this array as well. We don't need to rotate it. I mean, it has actually brought it in a different position, which still works. I mean, because what we have here is on the right side, and this one is on the left side. Basically, you can play around with it and do different things with it. Basically, I just wanted to show you how you can do things in a different way. You know, you can have two different styling inline to do your separate things. So yeah, that's what we have in here. We've added the image successfully. Good. So now we want it to I mean, we can just keep it. We can just keep things as it is. So the next thing we are going to do now is start focusing on the main content we have in here. The main content, we have this back button, and then we have this heading here, welcome back, enter your username, and then this input fields, etc. That's what we're going to do in here. So you can consider what we have now to be the background of our application. So we are just done building the background of our application. So the next thing we want to do now is add this view. We want to add this view, and then within let's start the view. Let's start the view. So we're going to say style, and then we'll add a tailwind. We're going to give it a full width and also a height. I'm going to give it a full width, and then okay, before we even do that, let's first build this. Let's build the header here, the back button here. So within this back button, you can see we have this background in here, and then we have an icon. We have an icon within it. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to say okay, you know what, let's just make the full background like I said earlier. So this is just the background of our application, right? Now let's add some other styling. Let's say within this view, we want it to take a full width and then a full height. Okay, and then we're going to do z index of 50. Now this z of 50 basically means everything within this view, everything within this view should be on top of everything on the application. basically. That's what the Z50 means, meaning we are making the Z index to be 50. So W full basically means width full should be width of 100%, and the H full simply means height of 100%. And then this Z50 means the Z index, take a Z index of 50. So it's going to be on top of everything on the application. Okay, so the next thing we want to add is the back sign, the back icon here. So that's what we're going to add next. So it's going to be within a view also. So I'm going to add the view, and then let's style it as well. So we are going to give it some style here and say Tailwind, and we're going to give it a full width. I'm going to give it a full width and give it a height of 4 rem, right? So you can give it a customized unit, putting it in this box bracket, and then putting your values here. So we have height to be 4 rem, and then we're going to say px should be 4. Now what this px basically means is padding on the x-axis, right? So padding on the left side and then the right side should be 4, basically. So that's what we are doing here. So we have done that. Now to see clearly what we have done, let me give it a background of black so that we see what's happening here. Okay, so as you can see there, we have this thing here. So we said what the width should be full. So the width has spanned the whole width, and then the height should be what 4 rem, and then the height is what 4 rem, and this dark background. So I'm going to remove the background because we don't really need it. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is bring something called touchable opacity. All right, so we're going to do touchable opacity. We're going to see what this touchable opacity does in a second. Touchable opacity, like so, and let's style it as well. Let's style the touchable opacity. Let's say style, give it Tailwind. Okay, so let's start the touchable opacity as well. I'm going to give it a height of 3 rem. Let's give it a height of 3 rem, and then a width of 3 rems as well. 3 rems as well. Sorry, but I think I have to add this here, and that height of 3 rem, and then a width of 3 rem. Now I'm going to give it a background of gray 200. So we give it this shade, and then I'm going to say right now it's square. As you can see, it is square, but I want it to be rounded. So I'm going to say rounded full. So this rounded full basically means border radius 100% if this was normal CSS. So rounded full rounds, as you can see, it has rounded it to be in a round form, very circular. So rounded full, and then we'll be putting an icon in it, right? So we'll be putting an icon in it. So we want that icon to always be in the center. So we are just going to say items center, and then justify center, like so. So what we've done here means anything at all we put within this touchable opacity, it's going to be centered. Now we are using touchable opacity because we want it, we are going to be clicking on it. Sorry, we are going to be touching on it. So we want it to be seen that yes, we've touched this particular button. Okay. So if I touch it right now, you can see this, it snapped, right? You can see it snapped. That's basically what the touchable opacity does. So it makes you, as the user, see that you've actually pressed something. Okay. Now as you can see, it's too intense. I mean, it's too intense. We can lighten it. So to lighten it, we are going to say active opacity, and we are going to give it 0.7 units, right? So it reduces the intensity. So as you can see, it's snapping, but then it's not like the first time. Okay. So now we have to add the icon. We need to add the icon, this icon within it. So what we are going to use is something called Expo icons, right? So Expo icons has already been installed as we bootstrap it with Expo. So we are basically going to start using Expo icons without having to install a new component. So open your browser and then open a new tab like so, and then search for Expo icons. Then open the first link, and we're going to look for arrow. Yeah, so we need this arrow left icon here. So we click on it, and then we are going to import it. So we're going to use this lines of code. We're first going to import it, and then we use the components. So let me copy this and open my VS Code, and then import it here. So we imported ant design, and now let's copy this code right here, and then we are going to paste the component within the touchable opacity because we want it to be inside the touchable opacity basically. So as you can see, you have the icon within the rounded button, so you can click on it and see it take effect. So you know you've pressed on it basically. So we now have the icon on it, and we are done with the button. So the next thing we want to do now is have this welcome back, enter username and password fields here. So that's the next thing we want to do. So let's get it done. So we have this here. I'm going to add in a new view. I'm going to add in a new view to hold that particular items. So the first thing, let's add a text. Let's add a text, and then within the text we are going to say welcome back. All right, we have it there, and then we're going to add in another text like so. We're going to add in another text like so, and then we're going to say enter your username and password like so. So now we have it here, but we need to style it. So let's style it. So within the view holding the text, we are going to see let's style it and see it should have a full width, right? We want it first of all to span the full width of the application, and we are going to add a margin at the top of 4 rems, and then give it a padding on the x-axis of 4, so it gives it a padding on both sides. And now to the welcome back as well, we are going to give it some style here, and then let's increase the size of the text. So we're going to say 2.5 rem. I'm going to give it 2.5 rem, and then let's bolden it a bit, so not too bold, but like a saddle bold, saddle. So we're going to say font medium. We can use bold, but we don't want it to be very bold. Now this is how medium looks like. Let's do bold and let's see. So as you can see, bold is too thick, right? So we're going to use medium. So yes, you can see how simple using Tailwind CSS is, if you know the utility. So I mean, you can also visit the Tailwind CSS website and go through their documentations and see the types of utilities that you can actually use. So it's very simple. It's very simple using Tailwind CSS. You don't really have to write a lot of code when you're using as compared to using the normal CSS. So we use font medium to thicken it a little bit. Now let's start the next one, which is the part that we have enter your username. So we are going to say, we're going to give it a text of 1.1 rem, and then let's change the color of the text to gray 700 like so. Yes, so that's what we have in here. We have successfully changed the color of the text. So the next thing we want to do now is have this form here, this input fields here. I have this input field, this user taking the username, and then another one taking the password. So that's what we're coming to do next. But with that, we're going to use a component called React Native Element. So when you open your browser and come in here and search React Native Elements and click the first link, we are going to know more about it. So React Native Elements is like a UI library that we can add components into our application. So it makes things easier. So instead of building an input field from scratch, you can just use a component and place it into your application. It just makes things a lot easier, and it makes you move faster basically. So we have this simple guide in here. Let's use the Expo CLI guide here, and then we can, to install it, we can simply say yarn add this React Native base, React Native, blah 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 blah. But you can simply open your terminal, right? You can open your terminal and then run this command. Let me remove the sidebar. Run npm I React Native elements. Let me make sure I'm writing the right thing. So RNEUI. So I'm going to say RNEUI. So this should install the components we need for us to start using React Native elements. It's going to install both the themed and then the based for us. As you can see here. So when you do yarn add RNEU base, RNEU themed, it gives us what we need. But then this command also works best. So we're going to install what we need for us to start building the application, to start using React Native elements. Okay, so let's put everything in a view. Let's put everything in a view. And then now that everything is in a view, we are going to, let me start the view. Let me start this particular view. Let me see. Let me give it a full width, and then it should have a margin at the top of let's say 6 and then let's give it a padding, so a padding of 4 on the x-axis. So let's see if everything is installed. Okay, that's installed. You can now start using it. So we are going to use the input components, right? So we're going to use the input components from React Native elements. So with the input components, we are going to be importing it from, we first have to import it. So I'm going to say import so input from, instead of having this here, we are going to say import input from at React Native elements UI, like so, and then we're going to import it from the themed directory. So yes, we've imported inputs. Now it's expecting, we are getting this error because it's expecting some properties, right? It's expecting some properties. First of all, let's style it. So container, I'm going to say container style. I'm going to say container style is going to have a width of a full width. And then let's give it a margin y of 4. Why is this error still here? What is it doing here? Okay, so I think, yeah, it's there because the input shouldn't be a default. It shouldn't be imported like so. It should be, it's a named exports basically. So this is how we are supposed to import it within a curly braces. Yes, so we've done that and the error is gone. Okay, so container star, we start a container, and then we are going to say start the input itself. So input container star, and then we are going to say let's give it padding on the y-axis, so py should be 2. And I'm going to explain all the stylings we are doing here in a second, and then let's add a placeholder. Let's add a placeholder, and the placeholder is going to be what, username. As you can see, the placeholder is username, and then let's define the keyboard type we want to use. So we're going to say keyboard type, and if we check, you can see we have all these types. You can have the email address, name, phone pad, number pad, etc. But then we're going to use the default one, right? Just the default keyboard. And now we're going to, yes, so that's basically all we have here, all we need to have. So let's duplicate this. Let's duplicate this and then make some small changes. So let me bring this in here. So yes, so as you can see here, we have this input field and we're seeing the container style. So the container style basically, so the components, the input component comes with an already added container. Okay, so it's everything is inside a container, which is sort of like the parent holding everything. So we are styling the container to be what, take a full width and then have a margin on the y-axis. My means margin on the y-axis, so margin top and then margin bottom of 4, right? So that's what my4 here does. And then we have this the container style, which is the one containing the actual inputs, right? So where we have the actual inputs. So we are saying that what it should also have padding y of 2. So if I remove the padding here, you realize the username will come down a little bit. Yes, as you can see, it dropped a bit. So let me bring it back and you see it increase. Yes, so it actually takes the actual input, start the actual input. Okay, so the next one we are going to do here, which is the password. We're not going to say username, it's going to be password. And we want it to hide the text, because right now when you type, you can see the text, right? You want it to hide the text anytime you type a password. So we are just going to say secure text edit. Text entry should be true. So now with that, when you type, it's not going to be visible, right? Yes, so that's that for the input fields. Let's move on to the next one, which is the button side, where we have the button. All right, we are now going to start with this button and then the final part. So let's add the button. So it's going to be, the button is also going to be within a view, right? So have the button in here like so, and then let's style it. So the style we're going to just give it is quite simple. I'm just going to say take the full width, and then you're going to give it say items should be in the center. Everything within this div should be in the center. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is add a button. Now we're going to import this button from React Native Elements. I'm going to import this button from React Native Elements. Let's import it. Let me do this and then paste it. But we are not going to be importing. We're not going to be importing it from the themes folder. We're going to be importing it from the base. Yes, we're going to be importing the button from the base. Okay, so as you can see, we have this default button here. But we're going to change it. We're going to style it a bit. So we are going to say, we're going to give it a title of login. Not this. Let me see, login. And then now let's style it. So I'm going to say button style and then Tailwind. We are going to give it, we're going to round it. Right now it's in a square form, but we want it to be rounded. So we're going to say rounded should be 100. So I think go to add a button. So rounded should be 100. And then padding on the y-axis should be 3. And then the width should be 15 rem, like so. And let's add a margin at the top of 4, and then give it a background of black. And then let's give it a text. The text should be white. It's already white, but let's make sure it's white everywhere. Text should be white, as you can see there. Yes, so I mean, that's pretty much it for the button. Now let's move on to the text underneath it. The forgotten password or create a new account. So we're going to add that. Let's add that. So we're going to put in within the text and then say forgotten password. Now remember that everything is being placed in the center because within the div we have them. We've already styled it so that everything is going to be in the center. Because within the div, the view containing the button and then the text, we are saying that everything within it should be in the center. So that's why we are having everything already aligning in the center. Yes, so just in case you were wondering. So style here, let's style the text. We're going to give it a margin at the top of 4. Tailwind, and then margin at the top of 4. And let's change the color to text gray of 400, like so. Okay, 400 is too light. Let's make it 600. All right, that's good. And then let me just duplicate this and paste it here. And I'm going to change the text here and then say or create a new account, like so. Yeah, so I mean, this is pretty much it. This is pretty much all we need to do to get this app built. So yeah, you have this nice looking interface built for a mobile application. I mean, so if you have this, just know that you've built a mobile application. You've been able to build a mobile application with React Native using Expo. And yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm pretty sure you've learned a lot. You've learned the bare basics of React Native and then Expo, right? So it's pretty much straightforward. You have a nice looking user interface for a login screen, and I mean, this is great. This is looking good. This is looking good. And if you have users visit your application looking like this, they will always want to visit your app. So if you've been able to follow along to this point, I'll just say congratulations. You've done really well. You've been amazing throughout the whole journey, and you have successfully built a good looking interface for a mobile application with React Native and Expo. And yeah, do well to hit the like button. Make sure you hit the like button. It's very important to keep the channel growing. It's going to keep me motivated to continue to provide you guys with good content and good videos, more content, and to further build your tech skills. So yeah, that's pretty much it for our app today. We have this nice looking application. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Just hit the subscribe button. If the button is still saying subscribe, then it means you haven't subscribed. So I mean, just hit the subscribe button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel, because trust me, there's going to be more videos coming in and you don't want to miss it. Every single week there's going to be a new video. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon as well, so that you don't miss any new video I add. And yeah, I mean, catch you in the next video. Thanks for following along. Thanks for listening at all to everything I said, and catch you in the next video basically. All right, peace out.